My name is Craig Rainey, and I've been in the construction industry for more than 40 years. When homeowners tell me the story of their project, oftentimes it sounds like this. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
And most builders would say that. Welcome to Remodeling Wisdom. I'm Craig Rainey. Let's get started. I was visiting with one of my clients yesterday, and we are pretty much complete with the project. And I say complete. We've got a few more things to do, but complete as far as the direction we're going to go in, because I never make a move in a project until we have complete plans. I don't start the project until we have all materials and fixtures and everything else on the ground. So I don't want to be delayed. And I've shared this with you many times in past episodes. With all of my clients, when I do a design, I spend time talking about the lighting. And when I talk about lighting, I think I have a failure in myself that a lot of times and maybe we're all guilty of this at some point, but I feel like that some of the more fundamental things that I do are something that's within the knowledge range of my clients. And when I talk about lighting with them, I think that we, as homeowners, we look at lighting in a very fundamental way, and we all feel like we know enough about lighting to illuminate our house and to provide the light where we need it and to make it very comfortable and homey. And there are lighting professionals out there that right now are shaking their head and say, no, that's absolutely wrong. The vast majority of us don't know a thing about lighting. And if it weren't for the science behind it and all the different technology that goes into it, we would not be able to achieve what we do in the lighting realm. And so with these clients, when I spoke with them, we've ordered everything, and we did order light fixtures. We've got some pendant lighting, which we'll talk about that. We've got vanity lighting for the bathrooms. We've got some ceiling fans that are going to be installed, but they're all there. They're in the garage ready to go. But with my clients, what they did is we completed painting on the main part of the house. We're repainting the entire inside. And when we repainted the inside, that's when they really started noticing their lighting. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is lighting, how to effectively light your home and what you need to focus on for where you're trying to go with it. And I hope that it's an eye-opener for you. It is for me, because I'm not a lighting expert per se, but I do a lot of work with lighting experts, and I spend a lot of time installing lighting, and I know what works and what doesn't work, and let me share that with you. But before I do, let me first thank you for tuning into the podcast. This episode is a good one. I know that there are a lot of home improvement and construction podcasts out there with very talented people. So you have a lot of choices, and I'm very grateful that you chose this moment to spend this time with me, and I will do what I can to make that beneficial for you. Secondly, please hit the like, follow, subscribe button. Every platform is different. We're on every platform everywhere. But go ahead and do that. That way you'll know whenever a new episode hits the web, and you'll be able to follow us along. Now, if you have a comment or a question, the majority of the platforms that we are on do not allow you to contact me directly. You can leave a comment or a review or something like that, but generally it's for the other listeners. So if you want to contact me directly with a question or a comment, please email me. My email is craig@craigrainey.com. And since we're talking about craigrainey.com, if you'd like to cyberstalk me, and I do encourage that, my homepage is craigrainey.com. You'll learn some things about me that you didn't know. It may be interesting to you. So anyway, with that being said, we've done our housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get started with the lighting aspects of it. Okay, so the clients that I'm working with, as I mentioned, we finished the painting on the inside, complete new paint scheme, and it looks good. In fact, I don't have a huge eye for interior design, so when I see, color palettes go together, sometimes it astounds me how bad I am at it and how good the professionals are. Because many times I go, I just don't see that working. And then when it comes out, it's just stunning. And that is the reason that I give my clients access to some of my premium vendors, one of those, of course, is an interior designer. And because they really know what they're doing. And so I leave that to the professionals. In fact, in my own home, which I've renovated, I had an interior designer who came in and helped me with my color palette and the layout and everything else. And it was, I'm glad we did. So I do encourage that, but I'm going to talk about the lighting, though. Lighting is something that I think with most people is misunderstood. And as I mentioned before, we all have a fundamental understanding of it, but that fundamental understanding is not going to help us in our renovation. And I'll give you an example. So with these clients, I was over there and we were talking about the cabinet layout. We're about to demo the kitchen out because everything's there. The cabinets arrived. And so we're going to start installing those next week. Well, anyway, the paint job in the interior has been complete on everywhere except where we're going to be doing the construction areas. And they started noticing that the lighting wasn't really working. So this is a house that it's kind of an old Texas ranch style, I guess. Not even old. It's more contemporary Texas ranch style. It screams 90s at me. It's got a lot of Monterey drag on the walls. It's kind of a yellow beige. I consider it just a yellow house, or it was. Now it's repainted, and it's got some off-whites and some other things. But in the living room kitchen area, it's got a big vaulted ceiling that's got cedar tongue and groove up in the ceiling, and then it's got big cedar beams crossing, very aggressive, a lot of black steel gussets that are holding things together. And, so it's a very dramatic room with the comfort stone, limestone fireplace. You get the idea. It's stained concrete. It's very, very rustic, but in a contemporary feel. It's a good mix. But when the house was repainted, the lighting in it took on a different characterization, a different personality than it had before. And so the owners asked me, they go, so what do you think about our lighting in here? We're really kind of at sea. We don't know what to do here because the lighting, there's something about it that is really bugging us. And I said, and I noticed it when I first walked in, when I first looked at the job, and we talked about lighting, and everybody listens to me. I always address lighting, and they go, oh, yeah, if we need to, but, we've got these fixtures we purchased. And, I mean, there's some things, there's Longhorn fixtures, Antlers fixtures. You get an idea what I'm talking about here. And, by the way, this is out on a ranch, so, most of it's appropriate. But I noticed from the beginning that the lighting was a bit awkward, and I knew, based on my experience, that it wasn't going to really work out that well with the new decor. And I mentioned that they'd want to consider some lighting and everything else. And, when we first started. And so now that it's painted, they're saying, we just don't know why our lighting isn't working now. And so they said, well, what if we change the color of some bulbs? Like, those are in the hallway, those recessed cans, those have kind of an amber or yellow look to them. Should we go with a cool white or something like that? We think that would make it better. And here in the room, in this big vaulted ceiling, we've still got the cedar, but the walls are a different color. And maybe we should do that. And, I think it's just the bulbs are all wrong. And I said, okay, yes, the bulbs are definitely wrong. I said, for instance, in this hallway here, you've got about 3 different colors because obviously they burn out at different times. And you went to Home Depot or wherever you went, and you bought new bulbs and without thinking about what color. And so you've got different colors. Yes, that's true. But let's go beyond that. Let's look at the lighting for this home. I said, so you're depending on your ceiling fans, light sets in every room that's got light sets on the ceiling fans because it's a dark house, just because, vaulted ceilings and everything else. And it's just, and they can't, with all these lights, how can it be dark? I guess we didn't buy the right bulbs. And I kept coming back to that. And I said, well, that's part of it, but let's keep talking about it. So, we've got that. And we've got these pendants hanging down, and what they are is they're pendants with a clear lens over it, but they've got a bulb in it that's clear, and you can see the filament burn. And so it's one of those that when you look up at it's not even looking up. When you look towards the light, you're going to have spots in your retinas from where you looked at them. So you're going to see spots. So you automatically and naturally just look away from them. And And then the lights up in the vault, they've got some very low wattage bulbs up in their recessed cans, and they are angled. They're not gimbals, but they are angled, so they're pointing down, but they don't really seem to provide much light. And anyway, so I talked to him a little bit about it. I said, okay, what I want you to do is in the next few days, I want you to make an appointment with a lighting company, and I want you to talk to a lighting expert. You've got a full set of blueprints on this house. Take some photos, take it to him, and talk to him. Okay, I need you to do that because you and I have spoken, but I want you to talk to a pro about this. But until you do, let me give you some basic terms that you can use to speak their language. Now, they use different terms than we do, but this is a generic term and a universal term that anybody will be able to translate. You and I all translate it into something that we laymen can understand, and the pros will translate it to more technical terms that they speak. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do the same thing for you here. So there are 3 levels of lighting in when you're lighting your home, and those 3 are this: you've got ambient lighting, focused lighting, and decor lighting. So, excuse me. Let's say that again: ambient lighting, focused lighting, and decor lighting. So, what are the differences? When you walk into a house, and I apologize, I just ate cereal, and those of you who've been with me a while, I tend to drink milk before this for some reason. It clogs me up. But anyway, ambient lighting has to do with when you walk into someone's home or your own home, and it gives you that general feel. Is this a dark home? Is this a really well-lighted home? Is this a home that, it's got dark spots in it? Is it something that is it a house that feels welcoming, or is it one that feels forbidding, or that's it? And that has to do with the ambient light. Now, that's a combination of the light that's coming in through the windows, obviously, but also it has to do with the lighting that is on all the time, the lighting that you use just to, as a homeowner, to light your way so that you don't trip over things or whatever it may be. That's your ambient lighting. The focused lighting are things like your lamps or reading lights, or possibly pendant lighting over an island or seating area. Maybe even your vanity lighting in your bathroom, so that you put on your makeup, or for us guys, we shave, whatever it may be. So that's your focused lighting. And then there's decor lighting. And the best example of decor that I can get you, where you'll just come up with a mental image of it, is on the exterior of a house. When the exterior is lighted from landscape lighting, you light up the rock or the overhang above, or some feature of the house that's lighted. That's obviously, you don't need to see there. That's decor lighting. So it's adding a design dimension to the home. Well, inside your house, you should have all 3 of those things. Lighting is critical for comfort in the home and for a home to seem welcoming. And anybody who is an interior designer, if they don't have an eye towards lighting your home, they're not giving you the full benefit of the decor of the house. Now, and these folks, they've got this big, tall, vaulted ceiling, and I said, well, the first thing that I would do is, right now, the vaulted ceiling's about 28 feet tall at the roof, and it's a cathedral vault, so those lights are halfway down, so they're about 18, 16 feet in the air. Well, they're not providing any illumination for you. They're lighting up the ceiling a little bit, but really, more than anything else, it's just a spot where you look up and you're going to be blinded. So what I recommend is you switch to a gimbal, and I recommend an LED, a gimbal that shoots straight down. And what it'll do is, and you can adjust as you talk to your lighting experts, you'll find that the width of the beam that shoots down can be adjusted based on the fixture that you use and the bulb, whether it's LED or fluorescent or incandescent, whatever it may be. That can all be adjusted based on which one you buy. In this case, I would have a very narrow beam gimbals, because you're in a vault, so you want to make sure that light isn't. If you've got a 12 on 12 pitch, that's a 45 degree. You don't want your light shining 45 degrees across the room towards the other wall. A gimbal is something that is it's adjustable. You have an adjustable lens, so you can shoot that light straight down, even if it's on an angle on the ceiling. So I said, I recommend that you get gimbals. You've got 8 of them in here. Let's get 8 gimbals. Let's direct those directly down so that they create a light spot on the floor below them, almost like a spotlight. And they said, oh, that's interesting. I said, well, it's not going to provide you any light up there, and you don't really need any, because it's not a big traffic area. It's not anything that you really need. So let's just use that for decor. It's really going to create a nice design feature for this room. you've got, and I said, for instance, you've got these pendant lights here, and these pendant lights, they're right over. It's a raised bar area where everybody sits, and I try to get rid of those. I typically go to countertop height and everything, but they wanted to keep it, so that's good. And I said, you're going to need to change these out, because as soon as, from the moment I first stepped foot in this house, I walked in and they blinded me. And if you'll notice, and they looked over, they go, we never even noticed that before. We just kind of automatically looked away from them. And I said, yeah, me too. And I said, because what it is these are focused lights, but they are creating an ambient effect, in that when you walk into this kitchen living room area, you have to, if they're on, you have to look away from them. Otherwise, you'll have spots in your eyes. I said, so we're going to buy pendant lights, if we're going to keep the pendants. I recommend actually we go with spots here also, which would go down. But if you want pendants because you like the look, that's fine. But let's go with more of a clouded lens or something that's more obscure, so that the light doesn't go in 360 degrees in all directions all the time and blind you. And just have a more focused beam, because that's going to be your focused lighting. And then you've got lamps, and you've got some other things here. Let's we could use another lamp or two here, and let's go with that. So, and I won't go through every detail. In the hallway, there was a limited number of lights, and they were recessed cans, and they were too far apart. I said, why don't we just pull those in? Let's replace those. And there's a product that Home Depot sells that I just love. And what it is, it's a 4-inch LED trim. And they make these where you can use them as a retrofit, and where they'll plug into a recessed can and they just cover it up. Of course, you have to be bigger than 4 inches to do that, because most of your recessed cans are 5 or 6 inches in diameter. But tell them, we'll do that, because it's not that big a deal to patch sheetrock. It's really not. So, especially in a hallway, because when I paint, I go corner to corner, top to bottom, whatever it may be. And in a hallway, you've got a 42-inch wide hallway where there's not a whole lot that you have to paint. And in their case, they went with a ceiling white up there, and so it's a fresh paint job, so we don't have to worry too much about matching. In other words, the paint hasn't faded, so we can feather that in, and you don't have to worry about painting the whole room because we can't get the paint to match. So that wasn't an issue there. But the big thing is, I said, let's change the look of this. Let's put more lighting in the hallway, and let's change the look of it. Go, instead of with the amber bulbs we have here, let's go with a white LED. And all these, unfortunately, these trims have 2 speeds. And by 2 speeds, I'm talking about they're either on or they are airport runway bright. So when I remodeled my house, I put 72 of these 4-inch trims in there, and I put most of them on digital dimmers. And I use the digital dimmer because I can pre-adjust where I want the brightness to go, and then I just click the button and it goes there every time. And if you've got a room, let's say you've got a tray ceiling or something like that, and you've got multiple levels of lighting in there in your ceiling, well, you can have 3 different dimmers and set them at different ways. You turn them all on, and it will create the look you want. Let's not get too technical, because this isn't visual. We're talking here. But I told them those are a couple things you could do. And I said the last thing, pardon me, is we're going to need to get rid of all of the light sets on these ceiling fans. Whether you replace the ceiling fans with non-lighted ceiling fans, or get the cover plates and just get rid of them, because ceiling fans, in my opinion, were built for one thing, and that's to move air. And attaching a light set to it is a cheap and easy fix to a systemic problem in your house. And quite honestly, it's unattractive. If you have 8-foot ceilings, you know how that you're going to bump your head on them. I just recommend that you never, ever use a light set on a ceiling fan. That's not what they're for. And adding it to it is, you might as well add a light to, I don't know, to a doorknob, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sorry I'm not being very creative, but that's how I feel about it. So that's what I think we're going to end up doing. And in the bedrooms, which they have, their guest bedrooms are average size, 12 foot by 12 foot, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's about the average size for some reason for most bedrooms. But we'll put 4 of those LED trims in there. They're easy to install. We can do it from the attic, put J boxes in there. There's no sheetrock repair. Then we put the trims over. They plug in. They're great. We'll dim them. You have a ceiling fan in the middle with no lights on it. It'll be beautiful. Very clean, very contemporary. It'll look great. And so it's funny, going back, when I first talked to them, I did talk about these LED trims, and they started just reflecting to me what they remembered. Said, well, you talked about doing this and doing that, and you didn't like this lighting, and you should do this. And I said, well, keep in mind, when I first met with you, we were talking about ideas, and I was speaking generally about how I would do things. And I'm not saying you need 50 new lights in here, but I know that in these bedrooms you'll need at least 4 in each one, and we're going to change these ceiling fans out and so forth. And so we went through all the rooms, looked at everything, made a list of what we want to do, and they said, "Wow, I think it might make a difference." You know what you're talking about. I said, "Well, yeah, it's." Your lighting is key, and you've changed every other decor feature in your home, including these beautiful stained doors. We've stained them a different way and spent a lot of time on them. So, yeah, it's going to make a big difference. And you've gone this far. Let's go the rest of the way. Let's make the lighting show off that new color palette that you put in. Anyway, so we haven't done it yet because obviously we spoke about it yesterday, and we've got the list. But I've done many other jobs and many other projects where we had the same conversation and did the same thing. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when I'm speaking design, and usually I do architectural design, not interior design, as I mentioned, it's not my strong suit. But one of the things I touch on is lighting every time, because your lighting is key. When somebody talks about open concept isn't turning your house into a warehouse space with no walls. Open concept has to do with light flow, how the ambient light flows through the house, how it makes you feel when you're in there. And I'll give you an example. In a kitchen I did not long ago, there was a living room and there was an adjoining kitchen, and the kitchen had a lot of windows, and it was great. And so it really was in a pretty good situation. It was in a pretty good situation light wise. But what I did is, between the living room and the kitchen, it had a bar height countertop right there. And then it had kind of a narrow entry, 36-inch entry that goes into the kitchen from the living room. And there's obviously big windows in the kitchen, so I didn't feel like it was taking full advantage. So I did this. I dropped that bar height countertop down to countertop height, and I widened the doorway by 6 inches to 42 inches. The owners lost their mind. They said, "I can't believe how much bigger everything looks and how much more open it looks." I took 6 inches out of the countertop height and added 6 inches to the walkway, and suddenly it was a different space. It's the little things, the little tiny things, and lighting is a little thing that makes such a big difference. So the pet peeves that I've got, and let's some of it's review, but the pet peeves that I've got. One is going with a lot of different colored bulbs, trying to get the feel that you want. You're not going to get that. You're going to need to buy a fixture that's going to perform the way you want it to perform. If it's too bright, knocking it down to a 40-watt amber bulb is going to do nothing except give you less light. And it's going to be the same type, but less light. You might have to reposition that light, because I find in new homes, it seems like architects rarely will put a lighting scheme in there. If they do, a lot of times it seems like they don't know much about lighting, and they probably don't. But it's just like with architects and kitchens. I remodel so many less than 5-year-old kitchens, and the reason for it is, when they're designed, it's as if an architect has never stepped foot into a kitchen and never cooked a meal, because they're not set up for the work that goes in the kitchen, and they're also not set up so that who's ever in the kitchen can be a part of what's going on in the rest of the house. It's almost because if you're the cook, you become the help. And if you're having a party or a get together and everybody else is in the living room or the entertaining area, and they're entertaining, well, you go in the kitchen and you're sequestered, and you got to go in there and I got to work, I got to labor. So little things like that. Well, it's the same way with lighting. I walk into brand new houses that are dark. You've got light sets on the ceiling fans. You've got rooms that are just super dark because they might have a single, let's say, a chandelier or a pendant light in it, or whatever it may be, and it's not adequate to give that room the look you want it to look. And I blame part of that on the builder too, because a lot of times what will happen is these builders, when they're building these homes, they cut costs. They cut corners. That's the reason you'll see cheap cabinets and cheap fixtures and poor workmanship in new homes, is because they're trying to keep that money in their pocket. I don't agree with it. I think that, like with my clients, what I do is I put enough money into the project to where I know I'm going to make my money because, okay, selfishly speaking, I do need to make a living. But at the same time, I keep the budget in there so that I can provide the homeowner what they want. I can give them a quality product that is sustainable for years, if not the lifetime of the home. And not just that things are going to fall down, but that they're going to look good that long. That we did our lighting so that it's always going to have that happy glow, and it's always going to have that feel to it that you want it to, based on the design of your home. And so, these are the things you need to focus on. And I don't want to go in a lot of detail any more than I've gone to on lighting, but talk about pet peeves. One is the light bulb colors and dropping wattage. Second thing, and I talked about it, light sets on ceiling fans. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. It is a really, really bad idea. And it's so much easier. It's so easy to install these modern fixtures. Now, I don't like flush-mounted fixtures at all. I don't. But you put a J-box in there and you put this trim. It looks kind of like a recessed can, except it's flat on the outside. You'll see it if you go to Home Depot. Just look at it. And I like 4-inch because they're not invasive. I don't like a big old giant fixture in the ceiling. And they put out a ton of light. But do that in your bedrooms instead of having a light set on there. Yes, the light set is easier, but there's nothing to it. If you, just technically speaking, if you already have a ceiling fan with a light set on it in your bedroom or a bedroom, it's already got 2 circuits. It's got one that goes to the fan and one that goes to the light set. What you're going to do is you're going to keep the one on the fan there, and of course you have a rheostat, whether it's a pull string on a pull chain on the ceiling fan, or if it's a rheostat on the wall, whatever, you have that circuit for your ceiling fan, and your electrician will reroute your electrical from the ceiling fan to those 4, if that's what you need, LED trims, those J boxes there, and so you'll have separate lighting. You will be shocked at the difference it makes in your bedroom. It's beautiful lighting. It really, it looks great. So anyway, lighting is key, and there's a lot to it. And ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned to my clients, talk to your lighting professionals and go in with a plan of what you want to do. They're of course going to want to sell you lighting, and that's fine. That's their job. But the biggest thing you want to talk to an expert. You want to talk to somebody that knows what they're doing. And I'm not just talking about electrical requirements and bulbs and everything else, but those 3 we talked about. It's ambient, focused, and decor. Now those may not be the 3 terms that they use, but if you use them, they'll understand what you mean. And I use those 3 terms because it's easier for my clients to understand. They go, oh yeah, well, ambient, focused, and decor. Yeah, I got it. And it triggers in your mind exactly what you're talking about. So that's the reason I bring those up. And I appreciate you listening. I wanted to share this with you while it was fresh in my mind because, like I said yesterday, I ran into this, and I don't think I've covered anything on lighting since I've started this, and I wanted to make sure that I touched on it just a little bit. Be sure to send your comments or questions if you've got more, Craig@CraigRaney.com, and I'd be more than happy to address it. If I don't know, that's possible, then I'll contact an expert, and I'll chat with them a little bit, and they'll let me know what I need to tell you and what you need to know, and if not, I'll resource someplace online and get you a link or something where you can look at it. Anyway, I've really enjoyed the time, and I thank you so much for spending your time with me. Have a great one. Bye.